So you shared first question. Okay, let me go. So hi, Sec, how we can connect multiple system with one systems? So it means you can say one system means one SSMS. Is this
Yes.
okay? So Sec, do you have idea about this? How you can connect multiple server from the one instance?
Uh, I think we have an option like some global connect. I mean, registering all the servers under
Y- Okay,
one server.
okay. Basically, Um, if we can open here, here is a view option. You have to register whatever server you have. So let me register, and I'm going for the registering those server instance here. So these are database. So local server groups. So you can create your group on basis of your like a requirement. So initially I created, let me create a new group here. So new groups, I'm going to create a dev, something like it, because we are doing for the production and dev. So I'm creating a prod group. Okay, production. And inside dev and production, you can register whatever server is part of development and production. So here you have to provide your whatever like a instance detail. So I'm going to by default, it's this one, save. So you can see, let me connect and one another server so that you got to know. So you can see here two server I listed. One server I'm going to list here. Yep. So let's suppose if I have to do, I'm deleting this registration because initially I installed this SQL instance. Okay. So if I have to query something like if I have to know like how many sessions are connected, so you have to go with this group, select your group and new query. Okay. So if you can see, if I will try to go with a SP who to active, so you can see both set. Here is a SQL 01, and if you can go down, you'll get a SQL by default instance. So it means both SQL instance are executing this. And main difference basically, it's a server name. We can segregate your records. You can copy and text. You just try to analyze whatever like a session ID. If you are going with any query, basically, you can execute into the one, you can say query, and those query executed for how many server register for those group basically.
Uh, Mr. Rajesh,
Yes, yeah.
even like it is applicable for the store procedures as well, right? Like
Yes.
if we have somewhere around 50 servers, and if I run query in one server,
Hmm.
it will be like reflecting in all the rest of 49 servers, right?
Yes, correct. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and do we have an option like granting the access in one server and reflecting in the others?
So basically, you are saying like we have to execute some query for a specific server or all the server.
All the servers.
So basically, if we are okay, let me take example for those. I'm creating a login here. Okay,
Okay,
create login. That should be work for both. Whatever SQL query you are executing, that should
okay.
applicable for all. So let me try
Oh,
this. Because I didn't try, but that should work. Any query you are trying to execute here, that should be replicated for both instance, whatever like
Okay.
this group server are available. Let me try to see. You can say it's created for two server, and okay,
Okay. Yes.
so it's not a problem. And initially, whatever I executed, you can say, let me go with a control Z. You can say first query I executed, SP who to active. And this is a store procedure basically. But one thing I want to clear, let's suppose I want to execute one procedure. So it means those procedures should be available into the each and every systems. You got my point? Let's suppose I'm going to, let me give a demo, something like this. So this is my SQL instance, and I'm going to connect a default instance also. Okay. I created one SP in this, you can say, master database. Okay, I'm executing into the, you can say, SQL 01. Okay, let me try to execute this procedure into the command. Execute this one, dview. Let me try to check what is happening. Are you able to see? It's here you can see. One server provided information, another server got issue because this procedure is not fine. Okay, so anything, any query you can execute in SQL query, whatever you are executing for a specific to one SQL instance. Okay,
Okay, Mr. Rajesh. Thank you.
and one another thing, like let's suppose you created this. So as a senior DBA, you created this, like register your server. So if any junior DB and any other colleagues is joining your company, so directly you have to share this as script. So we have an option to export this complete query. So if I can grant this one and I'm exporting into the some different server, like some different client machine, like another DBA. So simply I have to put like just I'm creating some file server list. Okay, and I'm putting the depth. Okay, it's exported, and I have another set of like I got once SSMS, so I can import from there also. So if first what I have to do, I have to click here, register server, and here if we can import task and try to import this. So whatever file you got, directly you can select and import. You'll get those files. Whatever server registered, so no need to go for the once again registration process basically. So only a script, and if you can check a script, basically this hold server information in a XML. So you can say register server name is this. Yeah. So all the server information. Let's suppose tomorrow you want to change whatever server. So simply you have to open this XML file and try to change. That should work. It's not a problem. Second server. You can say register server tab is this one. Once again, this one. So in the server, you'll get all the server is here. And directly you can change, and once again you can import from your SSMS. Let me try to move another. So Arun, do you have any query? I think you're fine with this.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. How many ports are important in SQL multiple tasks like SSIS and other technology? So multiple default port are there, but you can modify on to enhance your security of your server. So let's take it's a SQL port, 1433. Second, HA. Initially it's a mirror and point, it's a 5022. Nowadays, HA and DR, it's a once again 5022 because it's a part of, you can say, always on. Next, so SSIS port you ask generally, it's a 135. So these are default, but try to thought like whatever port are there. So what you have to do, like you have to go with a custom code instead of default port basically. So these are default port. So don't follow this port and please try to update whatever port is available. So for, I think it's not working. So please try to update while configuring a SQL Server or configuring a mirroring or always on and SSIS also. Please try to change whatever port because let's suppose some person like a hacker, he know very well like a default port are those and some people are not modifying those port. They are not going with a custom port. So for safety or security enhancing your SQL instance, you can try to change so that they will not get single like this information default. How to connect other database with a SQL and fetch query like Oracle and pSQL. Okay. So for this, so basically you're asking other than SQL Server, just like a MySQL, Postgres, or Oracle. So what we have to do? First, you have to download a driver. It means, and it means we have to let's suppose I'm connecting my server. So first you have to create a link services. And if link services you are going to create, and if driver is not available into your systems, so you can't directly connect any Oracle instance, MySQL or Postgres. So first you have to install, okay, like a MySQL because MySQL Oracle I did MySQL driver basically. So these you have to download like a JDBC driver. And after that, when we'll create a link services, so you have to select your driver. In a server object, basically, we are getting a link services, and here is a provider, default provider up there. So you can see MySQL provider is not available. So first you have to install, and after that you will get a provider list here, and then you can create a link services for other RDBMS or databases. Okay. Please try if you are facing any problem, I will try to help because I did for MySQL and Oracle and it's a straightforward only. So first driver should be installed into the same servers. Okay.
Okay.
What is important? Locks. So I think like shared locks, second,
Okay.
exclusive locks. Then if you can go with a blocking is also lock, you can say. Fourth, you can say deadlock, you can go. So these are, you can say, important lock, and mainly we have to focus on this lock only because this lock is a very important, and mainly this lock is creating a like a performance issue into the server. So if your lock, like an exclusive lock IXI applied into the server, and it's taking long time. So if anybody want to access those data or update those data, so that will create a problem basically. So you have to focus with this only. Share lock, like if you can go reading a data, selecting a data, it means parallelly other people can select also. But main problem, let's suppose I'm going with a one isolation called serializable. You know serializable? So in this isolation, at a time, only one person can try to connect. Just like a sequentially, they will try to connect or they will try to read basically.
Okay.
But most focused, you have to go with a exclusive because this lock is generally creating a performance issue on the server. We'll explain one by one because deadlock and blocking we have to clear. Why why understanding null value is crucial to running a SQL query? So Arun, could you please explain what is your question? Because I'm not getting like understanding
Actually,
a null
my
value.
understanding, null value is crucial to running SQL queries. Actually, sometimes we give null in
Hmm.
our scripting, but sometimes we don't need to put null in our any table or any other code. So why is null important for any query? If suppose if we want to fetch any data or put update any data in a table, so sometimes in our company some developers put the null value. So why the null is most important? uh, why we use null? What is the main reason we use null?
So basically, what happened? Like let's suppose I started a data modeling, okay, and
Okay.
I'm not sure like each and every line item I will get a data, okay. So basically, I'm going to like just in a designing, I'm saying this value should be null. And some cases, I'm 100% sure I will get a value. Like let's suppose I'm going with a gender. So it's a
Okay.
mandatory value, one character I will get. But some cases we are not 100% sure. Like let's suppose I'm going with a address. I have address 1, address 2, address 3. Okay. So address 1 is a mandatory. I know each and every people have a address. But address 2 and address 3, it's not required. Maybe some people. Okay. So that case we can go for the null. And you can, like if table have like a, let's suppose I have a 10 columns, and
Uh-huh.
in a 10 columns, two columns are mandatory that will not accept null. Other than like a two, that will accept null. And if we can compare, and we got to know more than 60% or 50% data are null. So that's also creating a problem, and you have to create an sparse index. Okay. So a sparse index can also like increase your performance basically. And let's suppose I have a like a one table and I mention null. So if I can try with a null, that will not a like, it's not a correct. Like if I'm going to write a dot id is equal to b dot id, and both table contains null for each and every record and line item. So you will not get anything because null is not equal to null. Yeah. So
Okay.
sometimes what is happening? They are going with a and converting this null. Let's suppose is null I'm converting, and this value like a ID, I'm going with a something like a blank. So if I'm doing something like this, like a one table contains ID and most of the data are null, and we can't compare with a right side table. So we are converting, if ID is null, we are converting into the blank, and after that we can make a comparison with the other column. And if we can go with a null, and null, is null is a function. And if you can add into the query, this those query will start degrading, because it I already explained in a last class. Because please don't use any, you can say, function into the filter condition or select a statement. Yeah, if I can go with any function like a is null function, average or aggregate, system defined function or user defined, it means we are going with a scanning all the table just like a heap table. Whatever indexes we created, we are not following. Yeah, so
Okay.
that's the reason we are saying like is null is a crucial basically. So if null is there, and if we are not able to compare with the other data set, because we have to go and show some meaningful data into the report. So we can't display null into the report, and we have to convert null. Like let's suppose we didn't receive any gender, and we have to go on basis of probability. Like let's suppose I have a data person information, how many male and how many female. Let's suppose. Let me give a one example. It's a practical example for you. I have employee table. How I can decide? Like let's suppose here is a male and female. How you can decide if like any line item is not containing a gender information. So first what you have to do, you have to find out, you can say, number of male and number of female. So if you are getting more male, it means whatever blank value is there, you have to convert into you have to update into the report with a male. And if you are getting a female, like you have to go with the aggregate function, you have to find out how many males and how many females are there. So number of male and female count, you can decide next null value you have to replace for the reporting purpose. Yeah, you got my answer.
Okay.
Okay, let me go with another. What is, please explain how transposition work in a SQL. Transposition, you can say it's just like a transpose. Pivot, pivot and unpivot basically. So
Mhm.
when we are executing a pivot and you can say unpivot, generally whatever filter condition are there, they are going with the indexes part. But it's after filter, they are going with a one by one scanning a data. It means each and every time, if you are using a pivot and unpivot, after filter, you will get a, you can say, low performance of the any like a unpivot pivot function, just like a XML path. Okay, so it's you can say unpivot and pivot. It's helping to transposition. Most of the important question for database designing. Okay, so we'll explain in a next, but let me explain like a recursive function. Because if I will start, that will take long time, because database design is a very crucial for the any database foundation. For recursive function, recursive store procedures. Basically, what happened in a recursive store procedure? I'm calling procedure in. I started calling one time, and internally they start calling. Let's take example. I have a number 5, okay, and we have to find what I can say. It's a permutation or combination. So let's suppose I want 5 multiply 4 multiply 3 multiply 2 and multiply 1. What is the answer of this? Basically, if I'm saying like this is a 5 value and you have to multiply with this. So one by one, I'm going to pass 5, and after that, they will decrease the value with a 4, 1 minus. Basically, it's a set I is equal to I minus 1. So they are decreasing a value, and each number they are multiplying. So what I have to do in a procedure, I'm passing a 5, and after that, they decrease one value, and once again they will return 4. And once again, when I will pass 4, and they will return 3, and then 2, then 1. So this is a recursive basically. So if we are calling procedure inside procedure, so it's a recursive function. What is a cursor basically? Let's suppose I have to go with a row-based processing basically. I have to start at first from the first record, and one by one we have to calculate or something like I have to check this value amount is this, then I have to do different like option, and if value is like a different, then I have to go with a different expression basically. Okay, so in a cursor, it's a if we are using a cursor into the SQL server, they are degrading a performance because they are closely, you can say, connected with a table. So maybe fast forward and some dynamic cursor are there. So fast forward, if you want to increase something like your cursor performance, you have to go with a fast forward. But dynamic cursor, whatever we are going with a normal declaration, declare cursor name, select this. It means if you will inserting a data into the table, they will once again pull those data basically. But if you are going to the fast forward and I inserted a one data into the first position on basis of cluster index, they will not back. They directly move forward. So that's why we are getting a performance. But if you are going with a dynamic cursor or by default cursor, they will move back also. Whatever data you added, they will pull those data. It's a closely connected with your table. Fast forward, it's not closely connected. So cursor generally we are doing for the, you can say, row-based processing. And if you want some custom calculation or custom expression, then you can go for the cursor basically. So I'm suggesting instead of cursor, if any person are using a cursor like just like a declare, I'm going with a imply cursor basically for and declare imp cursor for select a star from imply. It means if I will open cursor this, or maybe we'll close cursor this, I will close this also. And here we have to go for deallocate basically. So whatever cursor you allocated, like a created, they will deallocate it from the memory basically. So these are high level steps. You have to declare your cursor and you have to select your table, and then you have to open, and once again you have to start like a fetching a data. Fetch next basically. And then you have to close your cursor and deallocate your cursor basically. But why we are doing? Let's suppose we have to do some custom calculation. A straightforward calculation we can do by the query. But custom calculation, it means I'm saying like if anything is there, I have to go with a different bucket. If something is there, then you have to go for the different. So row-based spacing, row-based, you can say calculation, you can go for the cursor. And you have to replace this cursor into the like a while condition, and I will help you to like a converting those cursors. So please join our next class and we can start like a cursor and you can say designing question answer. Yep. Hello, am I audible?